Hi, welcome back to Cipher Sound Audio. As the title suggests, today we'll be explaining the electric guitar or electric bass pickups. The principle is the same. In the next episode we will discuss wiring the pickups in the electric instruments, mods and options, but today we will focus only on the magnetic pickup. So there are also piezo pickups for classical or acoustic guitars. There are some different kind of pickups, more on that later. But magnetic pickup. So let's begin. This is a magnetic pickup. In this case, it's a dual coil pickup, usually called the humbucker, because on this particular one, coils can be wired in series as the first of its kind in 1955, called the PAF, patent applied for, from Gibson. And it could be wired in parallel for a different sound, a more quacky, funky, but more on that later. So this pickup contains in this case, 5 main components. First, the base plate. This is nickel silver base plate. It could be brass or it could be plastic. It's non-magnetic, non-permanently magnetic, let's say. Then the plastic mold that around the base plate is built. Then ferromagnetic material, so magnets, ferromagnetic material, magnets. Copper wire, so that is 3, copper wire 4, that goes around the magnets in the plastic mold, in this case, and in this case 5, a non-magnetic metal cover that is chrome plated. Some pickups don't have covers, so the plastic mold is visible. Some have plastic covers, some have gold plated or nickel plated covers. They're non-magnetic. What you see here is so-called pole pieces from one of the 2 coils, and they can go up and down. In this case, you see with the screwdriver you can move them up and down. To adjust the volume of the string, if there is a case that some string is too loud or too quiet, you can adjust it by moving those pole pieces up and down. When that is the case, something on the guitar is faulty in the production of the whole guitar. But hey, that's why we have these. So let's start with this particular pickup. It's mostly a generic pickup made somewhere in Asia, which doesn't mean it's bad. Actually, this one is quite good clone of the PAF. That means it has Alnico magnets or pole pieces to be exact. There are different kinds of Alnico magnets. Most known and used in magnetic pickups in the guitars are Alnico 2, 3, 5, and 8. The numbers represent the strength of magnetic field. The lesser the number, the weaker the magnetic field, and vice versa. The higher the number, the higher the magnetic field. Also, there are Alnico 4, 6, 7, 8. Now Seymour Duncan makes Alnico 14 for the ESP company that uses them in all ranges from custom shop USA ESP, E2s in Japan, LTDs from Korea. So the same pickup, it's called Custom 14 because it uses Alnico 14 magnets. But don't be caught up in that, because this only applies to the same dimension of Alnico magnets. For example, a big, fat Alnico 2 magnet can be much stronger than a regular Alnico 5 magnet. For example, Music Man Stingray bass uses big, fat pole pieces, magnets, and they are much stronger than, let's say, this one, because it is small, like you see here. Small. So then the copper wire is wrapped around for inductance, which produces the electromagnetic field when connected. Connecting the two coils in series or parallel will cancel some of the noise, so-called 60-cycle hum, or in Europe, 50-cycle hum. As in Europe, electricity is 330 volts with 50 hertz, and in America it's 120 volts with 60 hertz. That's why 60-cycle hum. Since it was first made in America, the term 60-cycle hum remained, even in Europe, where there is actually 50-cycle hum. There are true single coil pickups or P90 pickups. This is a humbucker. So that have 60-cycle hum. Heard what I said? True single coil. There are also noiseless single coils that are not actually single coils, but they sound very, very similar, but without the 60-cycle hum. But for me, only one brand managed to correctly fine-tune the noiseless single coil, but it uses a buffered preamp in the pickup, and you need a battery to run that pickup, so-called active pickup. But most of them are passive, as in they don't need assistance from a preamp or battery to function. Only the vibration of the string above the magnet turns the signal and it passes through the wire, through the switch, through the volume control, tone control, output jack, cable, amplifier, and out of the speaker. Let's move on. So the true single coils have hum. Humbuckers don't. Hence the name buck, kick. In 1955, buck, like horses, buck, kick. So buck the hum, humbucker. Noiseless single coils may use dummy coil underneath the true coil to kick the hum. Some are wired, so let's say this is a single coil. You don't, my finger is covering the other coil. Some single coils, the half of it is wound with copper wire in one side and then the other half in the other side, which makes them out of phase, then connecting them in series standard. Or in parallel if you want that different kind of sound. Okay, we covered the humbucker, single coil, noiseless, noise cancelling single coil, and Alnico magnets. Let's move on. Ceramic magnets. Isn't ceramic a non-magnetic material such as clay? Well, yes, it is. But instead of calling it as they should be called, ferrite magnets, they are called ceramic magnets because they have a physical property such as ceramic, clay, porcelain, and they are sintered and not forged like Alnico pickups, Alnico magnets. Hence, they are much stronger, they are more hard and brittle than Alnico, and they are a poor conductor of electricity. But they are stronger, much stronger than Alnico magnets. So to equalize for the poor conductivity, they are placed under the plastic mold. Pole pieces are usually made of non-permanent magnetic steel or stainless steel, like, let's say, Seymour Duncan Jupiter rails or a Dimebucker that has stainless blades. Many think that ceramic pickups are cheap, harsh sounding. Well, that's true. They are cheaper to produce because ceramic magnet can be mass produced because they use the same template as the refrigerated magnet. And the magnet is stronger, so they need less winds of copper wire to have the inductance as as a quality pickup, but it doesn't sound like a quality pickup. Magnet is stronger, therefore you need to balance the winds. So the magnetism and inductance would be similar, and impedance rises, output rises. Output is not measured by impedance in ohms, in this case kilo ohms, but in current. millivolts. But it's very hard to measure it because it all depends how hard you hit the string, on what string gauge are you measuring it, how close the pickup is to the strings, etc. So manufacturers put impedance as a measure of output, which is of course wrong. Like my DiMarzio transition Steve Lukather signature pickup with 11 kilo ohms inductance. It has a higher output than the Seymour Duncan JB, the most popular one, with 16.6 kilo ohms. So 16.6 kilo ohms versus 11 kilo ohms, but this one is higher output. It is because it produces more millivolts by hitting the string. Seymour Duncan Jupiter rails, their signature pickup from West Houch, is a rail pickup. So instead of 2 rows of pole pieces, it uses 2 stainless steel rails. And underneath is 4 ceramic magnets. And it has immense output, far greater than JB or Steve Lukather, but it only has 14.3 kilo ohms, so less than JB. It is extremely clear, it is so defined, not harsh at all. If it wasn't too hot, like too much output, to me it would be a perfect humbucker. But it is ceramic and it costs double, almost double, than DiMarzio Transition Steve Lukather signature, which is also ceramic. And I love them both, but I don't use Jupiter rails anymore because too much output. But perfect hot for me is DiMarzio Transition. Thank you all for listening. Hope it helps a bit. Don't dismiss ceramic magnets just because of some 65-year-old fart that claims that only Alnico 2 magnets is the only way to go, and the ceramic magnets are harsh and poop sounding from their experience of 30 to 40 years of noodling on 70s Strat or Les Paul that weighs like a bag of bricks, and they do not know that their pickups are actually Alnico 5, which is standard since 1963 on Fender and on Gibson, and not Alnico 2 like they think they have. So thank you. Joe out.